Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. The last couple days, I have been spending some time on the Coronet. I haven't had as much time this week. We had another project in the shop getting done, which required the lift bay, which is perfectly fine. Some stuff is more important than the Coronet sometimes. But anyway, this is what I have been working on. So, I mentioned a little bit in the last video that I may be getting some new wheels to test fit, so I have just one at the moment. This is a 20x8 Steely from US Wheels. It is obviously 5x4.5 bolt pattern and 3 3/4 inch back spacing. And I have mocked it up with a dog dish style center cap that I had laying around. It is a Plymouth one, I believe. So I've been working on test fitting it on both the front and the back. So the biggest issue that I have ran into with the 3 3/4 inch back spacing is the wheel sticks out a lot farther. The Crown Vic wheels are very flat faced and they have a lot of back spacing. So, obviously, they didn't stick out as far. However, I really like how this wheel looks. And so the goal is to do my best to try to make them fit. The back fender, obviously, guys have already seen this. You know I had to move the fender out already. I'm just going to have to now move it out a little farther yet in order to get it to clear. In the front, I haven't 100% figured it out yet. This is kind of what I'm thinking. So I was basically going to be wide body, but I want to keep the stock fender shape and everything. I can't very well just add a flare. Like for a lot of cars, for wide bodying, you can simply add a flare. Sometimes they're fiberglass, sometimes they're metal. You can simply add them over the wheel well, and it looks great. I think it looks cool. However, in this case, I don't have either the skills or the tools to build a flare like that, and I don't think it would look good anyway. So what I'm thinking is simply take the stock fender and move it out. So I have this little piece of metal. This is kind of temporary, obviously, but originally the fender bolted in here, so I simply moved it out and put a couple bolts to hold it there. And in the back, it's going to be kind of dark in here, but the original fender has these bolts, captured bolts or studs in here. So what I got at the hardware was some 5/16 coupling nuts. They're fine thread. And then the studs with it's going to be kind of hard to explain, but basically this threads onto that stud, and then the stud goes actually inside the car, and that's where it bolts with a nut on the inside. So basically just little bolt extensions, more or less, that are simply going to hold the fender in place, to hold it where I want. So that's what I've got going on right now. What I'll probably have to do, with obviously the fender moved out, the hood is obviously not going to reach out as far. So I haven't quite figured out. We'll have to remake something along there. And the front end stuff will probably have to be more custom. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. So kind of an experimentation. I may be more than a little crazy for trying this, but yeah, I think the wheels are going to look really cool. I think a 20 is actually, it's obviously a big car, so I think it matches though. I like it a lot. So we're going to get started on this. All right, so this gives you kind of an idea what I was talking about. So that's where they thread on, just like that. And then I can adjust get me light in place. I can adjust these nuts here wherever I want, and adjust the adjusting nut there as well, and then I can kind of move them in and out to get the gap the way I want it. So if this works out like the way I want it, I'll probably eventually do like make a custom mesh panel that kind of fills that in. right, so I just went along with the cutoff wheel and just cut off part of the lip that runs all along here, just to give me a little more clearance here. I may have to do some more. And it's definitely still very tight, especially when we go to turning. So I don't know if that'll be enough yet, but we'll see. All right, so as you saw in the time lapse, I started by tacking the fender to the strip of metal that was here. That way I could keep the contoured part that contoured up underneath this, so I didn't want to have to redo that. So I tacked it in a couple places along here, and then took my cutoff wheel, just went through and cut it right down the center. Then I cut a couple different pieces of my 16 gauge sheet steel that I had. I cut this piece about 6 inches wide, and then from here kind of tapered from, I don't know, 5 inches down to 4.5 roughly. So got those cut and went through, you saw, drilled a bunch of holes and put my clecos in to hold it in place on the inside and outside. So I just kind of worked my way around all along here. And I got about this far. We're going to have to do some shaping on this part of the fender to kind of get it to contour in a bit more. And then part of this corner here will get remade because it's rusty down here at the bottom. So I'm not sure how far I'll go up, but we'll remake some of this and then, you know, get this kind of fitted into place. So yeah, it's really wide, obviously. You don't think about it from the side so much until you come back to the back and you see how wide it actually is. So, but so far it's clearing the wheel pretty decently. I think we'll have okay space. I'll probably get a tire, mount it up on this thing sometime. That way I can, you know, really check for clearances at when it's sitting down on the ground at right height. This should be pretty close, but, you know, to get an exact idea. So all right, I think that's all I'm going to be able to get done in this video. So as always, thanks guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.